Hi, this is Kevin Deal from Upscale Audio, and this is going to be like maybe take 3 for talking about this amp because you know what? I'm getting old and I'm spacing out and I repeat myself. So hopefully I won't do it this time. We're going to look at the PrimaLuna ProLogue 5. I had to get this video done even though, look, we're selling these for a smoking deal. It is not exactly a profit center, but I wanted to do something really special for our customers that dream of owning a PrimaLuna but think, man, I just can't quite afford it. And I want you to know something clearly. This PrimaLuna ProLogue 5 is a PrimaLuna through and through. Don't you think for a second that this is not one of the greatest tube amplifiers on the planet, regardless of price. 4 KT88s, 2 per channel, giving you 40 watts. You can use KT88s, KT120s, EL34s, 6L6GCs, KT66s, whatever you want to put in here. The only tubes you cannot use are KT150s, but like I said, it is a ton of power. PrimaLuna does not concern themselves with power. They run the tubes at a very low dissipation per tube on purpose. This could have been a 75-watt amp. But they didn't want to do that because you do that at the expense of tube life. And you do that by ramping up the plate voltage. And when you do that, you end up with more shorts. They don't want to do that. They want to give you an amp that you can turn on and use it every day. And they're not concerned with power. You know why? Because they are concerned with bandwidth. And PrimaLuna is able to do that in ways that other manufacturers can't. Bandwidth is typically really a function of the output transformers. And most everybody buys them off the shelf, and they all like to chintz out. They don't like to spend much money on them. Output transformers are half science and half art. PrimaLuna engineered their own. They wind them in-house, and they are famous for giving you unbelievable bottom end and unbelievable open top end. Read the reviews, and they always talk about that. So, power transformer is also very, very special. It is a toroidal transformer, big and beefy. The reason they use toroids is they're very, very quiet. They don't radiate EMI into the signal path. So this amplifier is as quiet as a church mouse. Toroids cost many times more what a traditional transformer costs. So what they've done is it's potted in a non-microphonic resin and then placed into a metallic can. The benefit is it keeps it from radiating mechanical noise into the room, and it protects the part because it is a very, very expensive part. The entire signal path is wired by hand, point-to-point wiring. And point-to-point wiring is something that you always want to look for in a component because then it is built to last a lifetime. Look, if you take a tube socket and you mount it to a printed circuit board, there's a tremendous amount of heat that you're going to have to deal with. And then when you pull the tubes out and wiggle them when it's hot, that's how you end up cracking a PCB. The other thing is they never sound as good. They don't have the soul of an amplifier that has point-to-point wiring because they use these little skinny traces on the printed circuit board. It's just not the same as this. I mean, this is some beefy, beefy wiring. The adaptive auto bias board is where the magic happens. It looks at each tube in real time and adjusts it to keep it in its linear position. It's completely passive. There's no downside to it. The benefit of adaptive auto bias is it deals with what happens to tubes when you crank up the music and when you crank up the music and the tubes get old, because tubes don't age evenly. And adaptive auto bias is going to make sure that you're going to be less likely to hear that degradation of the tubes. So it gives you really, in essence, a longer usable tube life. Now, if a tube fails, there's a fuse on the adaptive auto bias board. On some amplifiers, if you have a tube short, it's going to take out a resistor. You're going to have to solder resistors in place, and they didn't want to do that. So instead, there's a fuse right here on the board. If there's a short, fuse pops. You pop it into the fuse, replace the bad tube, and there you go. Now, you might have seen the PrimaLuna ProLogue 4. What's the difference? The ProLogue 5 has upgraded capacitors. These are nice big beefy Solons made in France, and hex freds in the power supply. So it's got a little bit more pop. But I have to tell you, I would be happy with either one of these amps. It has a 4-ohm speaker tap and an 8-ohm speaker tap. And then as far as what speakers you can use, 40 watts are going to run speakers that are going to be 87 dB efficient on up. It'll even run 86 dB efficient speakers, unless you're a crazy rock and roller that likes to turn it up loud. And if that's you, then you shouldn't even be looking at this. You need to look at a bigger tube amp. But 40 watts is a ton of power. Talk to anybody who is experienced with tubes. This is a real PrimaLuna through and through. Zero negative feedback, all the glory that you could ask for in tubes. Built to last a lifetime. So buy something that's worth owning years from now. Go to our website, come to our store, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. PrimaLuna ProLogue 5. Thanks.